Welcome back to the show. Well, while most of us will welcome the arrival of spring, for an estimated 3 million Aussies, it spells misery from hay fever. One of those who suffered through sneezing, itchy eyes and a runny nose is Today Show regular Shelly Horton, also joined now by immunologist and allergist Professor Connie Catalaris. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Good morning. Shelly, I'm going to start with you because this is something you've struggled with for a very long time.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Kingaroy, which is a small town in Queensland, very famous for its peanuts as well as Joby Jockey Peterson. But the thing with peanuts is they grow under the ground. Most people think they grow on trees, but they grow under the ground, and so when they're harvested, they use a thing called a thrasher, and that scoops them out, and then they shake and shake and shake, and that creates dust clouds. So whenever it was harvest time in Kingaroy, my nose would be running out of town.
But you're no longer living in Kingaroy, and yet
still get
you've
it,
still been having problems. And Professor, this is really interesting because so many people are troubled by this, and yet the research shows that people aren't actually seeking proper help.
No, I suppose it's like any chronic condition. People think they have to put up with it, and after a while it becomes their normal. So they don't sort of figure that maybe there's something I can do about it.
Was that true for you, Shelley?
Oh, I just threw wads of cash at the pharmacy and just got all of the over-counter stuff. And it wasn't until last year, it was just before my wedding, and I was doing I had hay fever, I was doing the downward dog, as you do, and my tooth started aching. So I instantly went to the dentist, and he did an x-ray, and it showed that my hay fever had caused a sinus infection that was pushing on my tooth. I had nothing wrong with my tooth. And he was the one who said to me, why don't you see a doctor about your hay fever? I just never thought of it, but I was like, well, I'd see a dentist straight away.
Yeah.
So it sort of made me go, I'm not very clever.
And Professor, that's apparently quite common. People get the symptoms, but they mistake it for something else.
Yes, so simple hay fever, people often think they've just got another virus and they think they're prone to viruses. Like we've just heard about, this is a chronic condition. After it's been going for a long time, you can get blockage, and that leads to secondary sinusitis, which is a much more significant condition. And as you rightly said, it makes you feel awful. You get headaches, face pain, you feel tired, just below par.
So we know we're just days away from spring, so it's all starting to happen now. So what should people do if they're getting those symptoms?
So people who know this happens to them every spring should be seeing their doctors now to have a plan to combat it through the spring. The best medication we have is preventative. So if you start it now, you're going to block all that allergic inflammation and you're not going to get into the situation of sinus pain.
And is it like a 1 week treatment, or is it something you have to take over the course
unfortunately, it's something you've got to use on a daily basis.
Right.
But, you know, that's a small price to pay for feeling healthy and alive and energetic through the nicest part of the year.
I can tell by the way you're nodding your head, that's what you've done that's made a difference.
Absolutely, I just didn't know. And the way I think about it is, you know, I take the pill, I just take my medication and it clears me up. And I really wish that I had done it earlier.
Yeah.
So I think that it's one of those things that I didn't think it was bad enough to bother a doctor with. You know how you kind of have that thing of like, oh, it's just like a bit of a cold, it's no big deal.
Don't want to feel like you're complaining.
Yeah, don't want to be a whinger. But I had my doctor really sort me out. So that has just been a game changer for me.
You can go out there and smell the blooms.
That's right.
Professor Shelley, thanks very much for
Thank
that.
you.
Well, coming up, he's defying gravity.